The dark secrets of Sean Diddy Combs' power, crime, and control. How many names does a man need to hide who he truly is? Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Diddy. Love. Sean Combs accumulated nicknames over decades of fame, as if each name were another. Mask. The owner of a music and business empire that looked brilliant on the outside. He now stands before the American justice system facing charges worthy of a crime thriller. In June 2025, a revealing federal trial brought to light shocking details of the superstar's alleged double life, organized crime, sex trafficking, and violence, forcing the world to face the unsettling question: who really is the man behind the names? Overview of the charges. Sean Diddy Combs sat in the defendant's chair in New York facing federal indictment under the RICO Act, organized crime, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and interstate transport for prostitution, among other serious crimes. According to prosecutors, from 2008 to 2023, the hip-hop mogul led a criminal enterprise designed to satisfy his desires and cover up his own crimes. The allegations describe a pattern so disturbing it sounds like something out of a mafia movie. Sex trafficking and forced prostitution. Women were allegedly coerced into sex acts at orgies organized by Combs, transported across state lines. Forced labor. Victims and employees say they were compelled to perform exhausting, degrading tasks, often under threat or violence. Kidnapping and armed violence. Incidents included victims held at gunpoint or forced into compliance. Arson. Even planned arson. Rapper Kid Cudi's sports car was allegedly firebombed after a conflict with Combs. Bribery and obstruction. There are accounts of large bribes to cover up evidence and intimidate witnesses. Prosecutors argued that these were not isolated incidents, but part of a sustained pattern. The charges were filed under the RICO Act, a law traditionally used to dismantle mafia networks, because the government believes Combs directed associates who helped him commit and conceal multiple crimes. In their words, his power came not only from money and fame, but from a network of fear and silence. The freak offs, pleasure, fear, and hidden cameras. At the heart of the revelations are the infamous freak offs. The term Combs himself used for elaborate sexual parties he filmed on video. These encounters could last days, fueled by drugs and marked by extreme practices. Several alleged victims, including Cassandra Cassie Ventura, Combs' longtime girlfriend, and another woman identified only as Jane, testified that they were coerced into these orgies with male sex workers unable to refuse. Prosecutors described a twisted cycle. First, Combs seduced the women with romance and luxury, what psychologists call love bombing. Then, he gradually introduced bizarre demands, group sex sessions he directed as a voyeur. Combs supplied cocktails of drugs, cocaine, ecstasy, ketamine, GHB to keep them compliant, awake, and detached from reality during the marathons. "I didn't want it to feel too real," Jane said on the stand, explaining why she accepted the drugs Combs handed her. Cassie declared there were more freak-offs than she could count during the years she was with him. Both she and Jane testified they often submitted out of fear of violent retaliation or threats to destroy their reputations. That fear was not imagined. Combs recorded videos of many of these sessions and kept them as leverage. Cassie testified that he used the tapes to threaten her. He would release explicit footage, scenes of her having sex with multiple men, covered in oil and visibly impaired by drugs. If she ever dared leave or expose him, that threat was constant, a brutal reminder that escape could mean public ruin. Combs' power wasn't only physical or financial. It came from knowing he held their darkest secrets on film. As the prosecution put it, if there was even a single freak off, a single time when he knew or willfully ignored that the victim only participated because of his threats or violence, that is a crime. In short, consent born of fear isn't. Consent, its exploitation. The chain of command, an empire behind the idol, behind the luxury and fame. Sean Combs maintained an intricate network of loyal associates who, prosecutors say, acted like foot soldiers for his private army. Witnesses described a rigid hierarchy: security staff, personal assistants, executive producers, drivers, house employees, all orbiting around the star and allegedly facilitating or covering up abuse. They booked hotels and travel for the encounters, stocked rooms with supplies, cases of lube, drugs, and fetish gear, and found women Combs demanded. Some were known by code names to avoid detection, like Frank Black and Philip Hines. Several ex-staff testified that Combs expected blind obedience and created an atmosphere of constant fear. One former staffer, Mia, said she worked up to 5 days straight without sleep to meet his demands and eventually collapsed from exhaustion. Mia also testified that Combs sexually abused her repeatedly, saying, "I couldn't even say no to him about a sandwich." Another key witness, Capricorn Clark, Combs' ex-personal assistant, described scenes worthy of a mob movie. In 2011, Combs allegedly showed up at her apartment pointing a gun, forcing her to ride with him to confront rapper Kid Cudi. According to Clark, he made her call Cassie, then his ex, demanding she convince Kid Cudi not to call police about the break-in. Combs then threatened, "If you don't get him to back off, I'll kill all of you." This chain of fear and loyalty extended to hotel managers, drivers, and other employees who were either coerced, paid, or intimidated to speak. As the prosecutor said, the defendant doesn't accept no for an answer. This machinery of enablers made him far more dangerous, a personal mafia hidden behind celebrity status. Extreme violence and witness intimidation. Beyond the coercion and manipulation lay a record of direct, brutal violence. Cassie testified that over 11 years, she endured repeated beatings. In March 2016, after one freak-off, she tried to leave a hotel. Surveillance footage later leaked to the press shows Combs punching, kicking, and dragging her across the hallway of the Intercontinental Hotel. At one point, he throws a glass vase at her. The aftermath was equally chilling. According to the hotel security chief, Eddie Garcia, Combs paid $100,000 cash to buy the footage to bury the evidence. Garcia testified that Combs was terrified the video would ruin him. This payment bribery by any measure became a central example of obstruction of justice. Other incidents included the firebombing of Kid Cudi's Porsche and threats of death to employees. Brianna Bongolan, Cassie's best friend, described how Combs once held her dangling off a 17th floor balcony, threatening to drop her. Again and again, the stories share a common thread: intimidation, violence, and an obsession with control. The psychology behind the bravado, sociopathy. Together, the accounts draw a portrait of a man with two faces. In public, the smiling mogul, the philanthropist, the party king. In private, someone with an ice-cold capacity for cruelty and domination. Psychologists called to testify described tactics like love bombing, overwhelming affection, to gain control, and trauma bonding, where repeated abuse traps victims in confusion and fear. Throughout it all, Combs displayed traits often associated with antisocial or psychopathic personalities. No remorse. Even after beatings, he rationalized violence as just a fight. Enjoyment of control. He planned every detail of the freak-offs. Disregard for consequences. He continued the same behaviors even under federal investigation. A grandiose sense of invincibility. As one prosecutor put it, he never thought anyone would dare hold him accountable. The idol deconstructed, fame, power, and final reflection. The fall of Sean Combs forces us to reckon with unsettling truths about celebrity and impunity. For decades, he was a cultural icon. Who would have believed that behind the dazzling lights lay such darkness? How many hotel corridors witnessed screams behind closed doors? No matter what verdict the jury reaches, The revelations have already shattered the legend. They remind us that money and fame can shield predators until enough voices rise to expose them. In the final words of the prosecution, is it time for accountability? Is it time for justice? We are left with the question that opened this story: how many names does it take to hide who a person truly is? And maybe the deeper question, why did we all look away for so long?